Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inside Infinity, episode number 22. You hear that, Jason? I got it right this week.
Awesome.
It is December 16th, 2013, recorded live, and we have a very, very special show for everyone today. You know, we're just a few weeks away from Christmas, and we thought it would be an awesome, fun idea to have a family-oriented version of Inside Infinity. So with that, we have a few parents on the show, and we even have one very, very special guest. You may remember Ben from the early days of Inside Infinity. He has someone special with him today. How are you doing tonight, Ben?
Hey, Will. How you doing? I brought my son Seth on for the show. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Seth, how are you doing, buddy?
Great.
Are you excited to be here?
You excited to be on the show?
Yep.
Awesome. Well, we are so excited that you're a part of the show and you've come joined us tonight and are going to tell us how much do you love Disney Infinity, right?
Oh, it's some
All right.
I love it a lot.
some pretty cool characters too.
Yes, there are. So to the right of Ben and Seth on my screen, who knows about everyone else? Jason, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing magical. How's about that?
Magical. It's because you're wearing your magical Jester Christmas hat.
And I could break out into a sweat any moment.
So that's okay. I hear it's
Watch
pretty
for it.
hot in your neck of the woods.
Yep, it is hot.
It's what,
90
98
something
degrees?
Fahrenheit for the next 3 days or something.
That's what you get for being in the middle of the summer for your Christmas.
Yep, no chance of snow here.
I sure hope that Jason's cameras are in high def, because I want to see him breaking out to a sweat here in a couple of minutes at 1080p.
You'll know
That's
if
what
the
we
hat,
all tune
if the
in
hat
for.
comes off, it's too hot.
All right.
Well, with that, let's go to you, Steve C. Remotely. You're reporting from a hotel. I almost said a Halloween. You're in
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah, I am in a Halloween hotel room. Thank you, Will. I am on a business trip doing this from my hotel room. As you can see, the lovely Marriott Inn at Charlotte, North Carolina. And the super sad part about this is I couldn't have Lila do the show with me, because if I was home, she would be more entertaining than Pirate Steve at his best days. And I mean that, because as
I
entertaining
agree.
as Steve is, Lila will blow you away. But unfortunately, she is not here tonight, and you're going to have to deal with just me.
That's too bad, because let's be honest, the only reason we're still friends with her is because, or we're friends with you.
Hold on. The only reason you're still friends with me is because of her. I got it, Will.
Thank you, thank
And
you.
to be completely honest, the only time I ever play the game is if I'm playing it with her. Or if I go and I just want to put some characters on the fans and let them earn points. Other than that, it's always with her.
That's awesome. Pirate Steven, welcome, my friend. Do you have any rebuttal you'd like to say to CC? Because he's already starting.
His daughter's way more funny than me. It's ridiculous.
That's it. Come on, you're like the funniest guy on the show, and that's all you have.
You know what?
What? Will, I have a feeling that you and I have a different text relationship than I believe, because I believe you've said that to me before, and I believe you said it to Jason before too.
What are you talking about? I don't talk to you off air. We're
Oh.
not friends.
We are so through when this show is over, Will. I am done.
So, as you can see, we have a very big show tonight. We are missing one member of the team. Lloyd had a last-minute work emergency. He is going to try to join us later in the show. Hopefully he jumps on, but if not, he is here in spirit. He was really looking forward to talking to you about Disney Infinity from his perspective as a parent. But you know what? That's all right. We have Seth here, and that's all that matters. Right, Seth?
Right.
All right. So some of you might be wondering how this episode came about. Well, Jason and I were talking one day after a show, and this was months ago, not even weeks ago, and we came to the realization, it was more of an epiphany, that we're a bunch of grown men talking about Disney Infinity. A bunch of grown men who the product isn't necessarily meant for, but at least everyone else in this room, besides myself, is a parent. So they are a little more qualified even than myself to talk about Disney Infinity. And with the holidays coming up, lots of new parents getting Disney Infinity for their children, then I thought this might be a fun episode to have. And yeah, so it's gonna just kind of be loosey-goosey. We're just gonna have fun with it and talk about what our favorite things are to do with our kids and Infinity. So, with that being said, Seth, I'm curious, buddy, what is your favorite part of Disney Infinity?
Well, I think it's the toy box, and I think I like the Incredibles.
What is it about the Incredibles that you like?
The headquarters, fighting bad guys, the character Syndrome.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good play set, isn't it? There's a lot of fun things to do in there, huh? Which is your favorite Incredible character to play with?
Well, I think it's really... Well, I have two. I have two. Noah Trey.
Where are they?
My freak...
You could say.
It's Dash.
Dash.
Which is Incredible. And Syndrome.
Syndrome. I think Syndrome is your favorite.
Like... Syndrome. And
what's it about Syndrome that you like about him?
he can lift stuff with this powered thing. Yeah.
His
I don't remember what that power thing was called.
The powered thing is called.
Yeah, I don't. What? It's the energy, the point something. What do you guys? The rest of the room. Do you guys remember what it's called?
0 point energy.
There you go. I forgot, honestly, so thanks CFC, for bailing us out. So, Ben, I noticed that you jump on Infinity a lot, and it seems like you're rarely in there alone. So what do you guys like to do together? Do you play the play sets a lot, or do you play in the toy box, or is it just a combination of the two?
Yeah, I think it is a combination of the two. I mean, I think a lot of times it depends on how much time we have. So, I mean, a lot of times we might have a little bit of time before or after dinner, so we'll just play in a play set. We'll just start on I'm sorry, not play set, sorry, a toy box. And we usually start off with an empty toy box and just start putting stuff in there and just making crazy stuff. And I think that's what we spend most of our time doing.
So every day you guys start
we also like the play sets.
Do you guys constantly start with a blank toy box and building it up, or do you keep on building on one you've already worked on?
I would say we constantly start off on an empty toy box. So you would think we'd keep building it up. We don't. We just start with a blank one. We create new things, drop them down, play with them for a while, and then probably the next day we start all over again. Yeah.
That's funny.
Right, Seth? That's what you like to do?
Yeah.
A lot of times I think he likes to do gadgets. You seem to really love the hammer swing thing a lot, and you seem to. I almost think you like to destroy my character because he's always putting landmines and everything he can think of to cause trouble.
These bad guys are pretty cool, you know.
Bad guys are cool.
They are.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Seth, I just want to tell you, I'm your biggest fan right now. You are cracking me up, man. I like you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I come play in your toy box sometime? You sound like a lot of fun.
Can I come for a visit in the toy box sometime? As long as you don't throw them. When we first got the game, the first day we got the game, I didn't know that the mechanism of you start a toy box that any of your friends can join in. So we're building stuff, and all of a sudden some random person comes in and it picks up my son and throws him off into the sky. And I was like, what is going on here? Where did this person come from? Remember that?
Yep.
Jason knows about that because Jason saved me many times from some random person throwing me and my kid off of a cliff.
One of our listeners, Jay Carguth, he's a lot of times in the chat room. He always seems to jump into my games when I'm playing, and I can always tell it's his kids that are jumping in there because their favorite thing to do is just pick me up and throw me. and there's always two of them, and they're always playing Violet and Mrs. Incredible. And so whenever I get thrown around, I know it's them. And a couple weeks ago, I was actually working on my review of the Wreck-It Ralph and Vanellope figures, and so I just created a toy box like I normally do. And I'm like, I look down to take notes on something. I'm testing out their abilities, and then all of a sudden I look up, and my character's being held, walking down, and then just thrown off the toy box. And I felt so bad because there's no way of me communicating with them, but I needed the privacy, so I had to kick them out. So I tweeted to him apologizing that I needed the privacy. But Seth, I have a feeling, my friend, you are not alone in picking people up and throwing them. So
we're talking about the toy box where we play toy box or the playset. We do play this playset as well, but I listen to you guys, and you guys seem like in the first month you seem to go through all the content of the game. It seems like to do almost all the playsets. And I think for Seth, you and I probably finished the Incredibles. I don't know if we've and maybe Lone Ranger.
I think we'd be the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, but it's interesting that we're playing almost every day, but a lot of times it's the toy box, it's a little bit of the play sets, and it's really, I do feel like there's a lot of value in Disney Infinity, and that for kids it can last a long time.
Well, in fairness, Ben, we kind of, it's part of our job in a way to get through the content and see as much of it as we can. But I do agree, and I know Steve C., he hasn't completed all of the toy box, or at least until relatively recently, I know he hadn't. And
I feel like you're making a subtle joke here.
I honestly, for once in this show, I'm not. It does have, there's just so much value in it, and there's lots of, I like how, Ben, how you and Seth do it, because you don't have to just get through the story. There's so much, and it's the complete package that you can jump. And tonight you may jump in the toy box because you have a few minutes to play, or tomorrow you may have a couple hours to play, so you want to see what you can get through in the toy box.
Yep.
So, yeah. What do you? The rest of the room? Do you guys have any questions for Seth? And kind of, I mean, I know you played with your kids a lot in the game, and do you have any questions for Seth on how Ben and Seth like to play?
Well, while they're thinking about it, Seth, do you have any favorite? Do you have a favorite play set?
Well,
I think you said it was. You said that it was The Incredibles, didn't you? Do you have a play set that you don't really like to play?
Cars.
Really?
And why is that?
Because it's like this way.
It's this way. What does that mean?
It's like this way, and I'm more to this way.
I don't know what that means. Do you not like to use?
Which one? I'm talking about Horizontal and.
Oh, I see. You're saying. Oh, I see.
Well,
He's saying like widescreen, like how. When you're playing two players, that the split screen it goes, I think, horizontal instead of vertical.
Instead of, yep, I know what you mean.
Yeah, that makes it hard when you're not used to it, huh, Seth?
Yeah.
I got a
you also
question
don't
for
seem to be
Seth.
into cars, which I was surprised. I know you've used to like to play cars and stuff, but you just don't seem to really care for those characters as much, I guess. At least in the game.
Well, I do like one of the car characters.
Which one's that?
I play what is that?
Is it Lightning McQueen?
No, it's the other race car. I forgot what it
Francesco.
is.
Francesco?
Yeah.
You and me, buddy. I love Francesco too. He's an awesome car.
Hey Seth, what if Finn McMissile was a character in the game? Would you like the car set better then?
Do you know that character? I don't even know if you know that character. Did you say what is his name? Is it Finn?
Finn
McMissile?
McMissile.
Cars 2?
I don't even know if you've seen Cars 2. I know you've seen Cars 1. I don't know if you've seen Cars 2.
The face right now that I'm seeing on
part of it.
Steve's
I don't
face
know
is
if I've
great.
seen it.
Oh, you
I
gotta
don't remember
rent
seeing
it.
it.
Cars is actually my son's favorite out of the bunch, but he kind of wishes there were more characters than the 4 that you have to play with, because the first video game that I bought for him and he got into was the Cars 2 video game from Avalanche, same company, and there are 56 playable characters in that Cars game, but only 4 in this one.
Really? What were the other characters in that game?
Oh, I mean, Yeah, I mean, you could be Dinoco Blue, Lightning.
wow.
I mean, you could be all these different. Definitely Finn McMissile.
Chick Hicks.
Chick Hicks, Sarge. I mean, any character you could pretty much be, and it feels like it's almost a very similar game, and you would think they would be able to port it over, but I figured out it would be $750 something to get 56 different cars in the game. So I guess I'm okay with 4 playable Cars characters because I'd have to buy them all. So.
Pirate,
Steven, it's
only
interesting that you said that your first experience to Avalanche was Cars 2. My first experience with Seth was Toy Story 3. And I remember this summer I was like, why don't they make a sequel to Toy Story 3 game? And that was my first discovery of Disney Infinity. I was like, I want another game like Toy Story 3. And then to learn, they're making Disney Infinity. It's quite an experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Probably. But I'm still wondering. But I'm still wondering why does it look like there's why do they show like an island? If that's not what Disney. If that's not what the Toy Story present looks like.
I don't know.
That's really silly. Why would they do the video if it's already part of the Infinity?
He's talking something about an island. I don't know what he's talking about.
Oh.
Somebody else talking.
Seth, I just have to ask you a question. Can I ask you a question? Are you competing for cutest kid in the world right now?
Well, that was.
He thinks you're doing a great job.
Great.
I do. I really do, my friend.
Thank you.
I have a real question for Seth.
Because if toys are free or not in Disney Infinity, I'm wondering when they're gonna start showing this island.
I don't know anything about the island. I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you probably.
We'll look at. You know what? You and I will look into that and have to get back.
Play.
We'll get back to Will and figure out about this island.
We'll find out about the island for you. All right, buddy. We'll make sure we figure it out.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we gotta let someone else talk.
Steve C has a question for you.
Hey Seth, when you're not a car and you're in the toy box and you're fighting other bad guys, what's your favorite weapon? Because I have a little girl that's 7, and I know the only weapon she uses. I want to know if it's the same as yours.
Well, I'm not.
And what playset was this?
Just in the toy box.
On the toy box. Do you have a weapon that you like to play in the toy box?
Well, I have. No, not really.
Really?
No?
Well, there's some cool weapons. I like to play some cool weapons, like, usually, I think got some cool weapons, like, the guns, and I'm into the guns.
The guns.
So,
You like to drop weapons. I feel like you like to drop more weapons around around the toy box than you actually.
And I like the gun, too.
The gun.
I think.
Would it be Stitch's gun? Or,
Well, the guns are pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah, Stitch's blaster is a lot of fun. That one's a really fun weapon.
What's your favorite power disc, Seth?
Well, I would say there's a couple of. Well, I say there's some couple. I can say some couple ones.
Why don't you tell? I know when what are you looking forward to that hasn't come out yet?
Well, I believe I'm looking.
It's related to Jack.
The Jack discs.
Right, The Nightmare Before Christmas.
The Nightmare Before Christmas. Okay.
The
Sky and ground.
yes, that one's really neat. I like that one. Steve C, what's your daughter's favorite? What's Lila's favorite weapon?
When it comes down to winning and beating people, the only weapon she uses besides invisibility is the pirate bomb. She uses the pirate bomb on everybody. She did the, I don't know if you guys ever do the character challenges, where you play the same thing and try to get gold.
I beat the pirate
That's okay.
This kid is hysterical.
No.
She
They're
did.
really-
Oh, I just see that Lloyd joined the call. No, but
Steven is
she did the whole Gladiator event with just the pirate bomb and got gold. She blows up everything. It's hysterical.
That is impressive.
I guess.
Do you like the pirate bomb, Seth?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
I was curious about the other parents. Are all of the playsets do you feel are suitable for your kids?
Yes.
Because for a while I wasn't sure about Pirates of the Caribbean. I was like, the swords and the fighting. But I mean, he's 6 now, and I guess I'm letting him play it now. But at first I wasn't quite sure if it was age appropriate.
Yeah,
Well-
Yep. And the ship is pretty cool.
The ship is
and all
cool.
the guns, all that's pretty cool.
Well-
I like all that. I like all the stuff that's on the ship. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that one's a lot of fun, and Ben, that's actually an excellent point. And I do know I've read multiple articles where Avalanche really took great strides and keeping it as toys and keeping the action, let's put it that way, kid friendly, and even when someone eliminates a toy in the game, their parts kind of go everywhere, and it's still, I mean, as much as you can have that kind of animated yes, activities.
Friendliness, yeah.
Yeah.
I
trying
do
to
like that
stay with-
the guns are pop guns. I mean, I could try to justify that with my wife. Say, well, they're not really guns. They're pop guns, or it has a red nozzle or something like that.
It's like pop guns. Yeah, like little toy with little like suction cup.
Right.
Yeah. So Lloyd, welcome to the show. I see that you are having some video issues. We can see you, and I think we can even hear you.
I think I can smell you.
No, that was my burger I ate on the way home.
Oh, that's disgusting.
Flying down the ice-covered roads of Manitoba.
I'm glad we're that important for you to risk yourself and drive fast on icy roads.
I'm gonna split up all the car repair costs and send it equally to each one of you.
Actually, Steve C. volunteered. He said he would love to.
Yeah, I got it. I got this one. Just bill me.
Perfect.
So Lloyd, you can't see our video, or is it showing up for you now?
I think I can.
All right, great. Well, as long as you can hear us and we can see you. So we're talking with Ben, and Ben's son Seth has joined us, and we were just talking about what some of our favorite weapons are, and if Ben asked the specific question if all of the playsets, in our opinions, were kid safe, and I know you've had a chance to play a lot of the playsets with your children. So what
Yeah.
do you think? Do you think they're all kid safe? And Pirates specifically is one that he had mentioned they wasn't sure about.
Sure. Yeah. No, I think it depends on the kids. It also depends on the parents. I'm pretty open with my kids. Like from early on, we were playing video games together. Myself and my son and my daughter. My son's 7 now, and my daughter's 6. But I can remember playing video games at 4 that had simulated violence in them. Nothing like blood and gore, like when we were playing GTA or Assassin's Creed or anything. But the violence that's in even the Pirates playset, it's all pretty simulated. We watch a lot of cartoons. They see a lot of that stuff. So I'm not too protective over those things. So personally, I think it is, but the caveat being every parent is different, and a lot of them have separate ideas as for what's appropriate with their kids. We have a close family friend who doesn't allow their child to play with guns at all. So when they come over to our house, we actually have to take all of the Nerf guns and everything and put them away, because if he sees a gun, he beelines for it, and then they freak out. So everybody's
like candy,
different,
right?
Yeah, totally. Everybody's different. So yeah, for me, as I said, not a problem. Others, maybe.
Does that help, Ben?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I was just curious because I mean, I the Lone Ranger with the guns a little bit, and the Pirates with the swords and stuff. For 5 and now he's 6. It was always debatable and stuff. I do think it's friendly, and you don't see blood, and it's not a really violent game, but it's still something that, talking with my wife, we have to discuss a lot of times whether it's appropriate for his age.
Great. Just want to. Steve C is going to actually drop out of the show. He has some things he needs to take care of. So, Steve, you just want to say goodbye to everyone before you let
Yeah,
you
you
go?
guys, it was Seth and Ben. It was cool meeting you guys, and I'll see the rest of you guys at the Christmas show. I'm very excited for it. Sorry, I got to go. Just got some stuff to do here in this wonderful hotel, and you guys are good.
Nice meeting you, Steven.
Nice meeting you, Jason. Don't forget about me. I see you down there. All right, take care, you guys.
Thanks, Steve. We'll talk to you later, buddy.
See ya.
Pirate Steve. Gosh, so many Steves. What's your kids' favorite play sets?
Well, first off, we only Disney Infinity Day is every Saturday. So on Saturdays is his playtime. He looks forward to it all week. We usually just do schoolwork during the week, and then he just knows Saturday he can let loose and play Disney Infinity and video games. So we kind of, and we knew Christmas was going to be big for Disney Infinity, so we went small, and every now and then he would get them as rewards for doing good in school, and I'd throw him a power disc every now and then once he gets good behavior. And then at the end of the week, if he does really good, he might get a figure. And we started off just doing the first 3, the starter sets, and he's had the Cars set. So on his Christmas list that he asked Santa for is the remaining figures and the Lone Ranger playset and the Toy Story playset. So he's got 1 week left to see if he's good enough to get that. So we'll see. I hope he was good enough because I really want to play it. So we'll see what Santa does with that.
So, like Ben and Seth, do you take your time getting through play sets together just whenever it works out for the both of you, or do you play it quickly just to get through it?
I think we definitely savor it. I mean, I think we take our time with it. Seth hasn't been playing cards with me anymore, so I'm playing cards just to try and unlock some stuff. But yeah, we usually just enjoy ourselves and take it slow. Unless Seth's really excited about a game. Sometimes for a while there it was The Incredibles, where I feel like The Incredibles we got through really quickly. So if he's really gung ho, he might play that for a while. I'm sure if he gets Toy Story playset for Christmas, I'm sure he'll be playing that a lot.
Yep, I will. I can't wait to play with.
I think you're gonna enjoy it, my friend. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And you like the Toy Story characters? Do you like Buzz Lightyear and Woody?
Yeah,
and
Buzz
Jessie?
Lightyear and Woody are some of my favorites.
Are they?
And since Seth has played Toy Story 3, the video game by Avalanche, I think he's probably most connected to that game for at least playing. I mean, because we don't play a lot of it. We play Minecraft but we don't play a lot of video games. Maybe some Lego games.
Yeah.
But I'm sure when it comes to Disney, he's probably most connected to Toy Story 3.
Well, Seth, I remember playing Disney Infinity a while ago with your dad, and I was showing him some things, and he actually invited me into a toy box that you and him created, and I must say, you are very creative. Your toy box was so neat and interesting compared to mine, and I just wanted to say you're really creative, and I really like seeing all the different things you like to make in the toy box.
Say thank you.
Thanks.
I know when we talked about it, it was interesting. I think a lot of times as adults, we spend a lot of time planning and say we have to have a certain theme and everything's got to be constructed in a certain way. And I think at least with my son, it's kind of like he just plays and he just drops things wherever, and it's whatever he's having fun. And it's interesting sometimes to see through the eyes of a child how they create things in the toy box.
Yeah, well, that's an excellent observation, Ben, because that is part of why I wanted to do the show, is because as an adult, maybe I'm just living too much of a structured world, and when I jump into a toy box, it does have to be very structured and thematic in a way, and it seems like for kids, multiple children's toy boxes that I've had the pleasure of dropping into and seeing, it's just almost chaotic, but in a very good, fun sort of way. Jason, what do you have you noticed that? Have you? Because you and I have discussed that we're not very creative, but when you play in the toy box with your girls, is it just a different experience for you?
My girls don't play in the toy box because Dad doesn't let them play Disney Infinity. In fact, until just recently, since I got my PS4, I decided, you know what, I should let the girls play Disney Infinity. I was inspired by this show. And look, I'm not going for Father of the Year award here. They come to me constantly and go, Dad, can I play the Disney game? And I'm like, no. I'm too busy at the moment. My PlayStation's in my office, and so I have to work during the day, and so... but now it's down there. That last weekend, I think it was, I said, I want you to play Disney Infinity. And my daughter said to me, first thing she said to me, which button kills? I was like, okay, yep, all right, well, you keep going with that. My other issue is I've got 3 daughters, and it's just a fight for the controller.
Oh, that's a good point. You
it's
can only play...
when it's only 2-player, and when you got that third one off to the side, it just ends in wars. And so... this time next year, I'll have some really good strategies for the parents because I am going to start sitting down with them, and I honestly think the only way you can play with it is, well, I've got my eldest is 6 years old, I believe, and so her hands don't really fit. Ben, how does Seth's hands fit on the Xbox controller? The PS3 controller I find is a bit big for my daughter, so she's not that good at it, and I just worry about her deleting my save. And I don't know if anyone else is like this, but like when my daughters grab the figures, I'm like in panic mode. Just watching, waiting for something to break. Nothing is broken yet. Touch wood.
That's why you need to become Disney Infinity's favorite consumer and just buy double of every single figure, and then it won't matter.
So true. So true. But Jack is their favorite, and Kira says to me, I want to play Jack, and I want to go to Jack's house, which I don't know what that means, but I just load up the Jack Adventures thing, and she just throws pumpkins at things, and for about literally maybe 5-10 minutes, and then she's had enough, or she loses the fight against her sisters.
Ben, I don't know if you heard Jason, but how does he was saying that the PlayStation 3 controller is a little bit too large for his daughter's hands. How is it for Seth and the 360 controller?
I think it's perfect. I mean, yeah, just to rub in the Xbox there. He handles it great. I mean, he has no problems. I mean, the real experience. I mean. The real test is really when you get into the toy box where you have to start putting things down and really maneuvering and stuff. And he seems to handle it no problem at all. I mean, yeah, it's not a problem. What do you think? Do you have any problems with the controller playing the game?
Not really. Not really.
Yeah, because you play without me sometimes, right? Sometimes you can play and I'm not even there and you're having no problems playing the game?
I'm interested, Lloyd. How's it for you? Because I know you're playing on the Wii U, and they recently added the Pro Controller support. So when you're playing multiplayer, but how's the Wii U controller?
Yeah, the Wii U controls are actually really good. The gamepad is awesome. The kids love playing on the gamepad. Prior to them adding the Pro Controller support, where they just had the Wiimote nunchuck. That was a bit of an issue. My daughter would always have the nunchuck in the wrong hand and stuff, so things weren't perfect for her, so we'd always have to keep switching them back and forth. And then the Pro Controller support came out, and it's essentially just like an Xbox controller, and they're perfect with that. They love playing with that. So controls aren't really an issue. It's more they want me to build things so they can either fight endless hordes of enemies or break stuff. They like me to build stuff out of blocks that tumble down. So, yeah, that's their control. They dig it.
Interesting.
Can I ask Lloyd? So you have the Wii U, is that right?
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the tablet thing is called. Is that the tablet controller?
That's the gamepad controller.
Gamepad. So can you actually touch some of the game controller and manipulate it? Or?
For a little bit. You can use it for quick select. So you can say, I want to choose my backpack item, and you can just scroll it with your finger and hit the one that you want. Instead of having to bring up the menu on screen, it does a lot of that stuff off screen.
Okay.
you
So
can
it's not
also,
like the iPad app where you could actually edit the toy box.
yeah, pretty similar to that. The other nice thing is you can hit the icon at the top of the touchscreen, and it actually just pushes the video from your television right to the gamepad, and you can play fully on the gamepad without having
Nice.
TV, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Lloyd, one thing I've always wondered is that in general controls,
Go to the
I could see how
bathroom.
how the Wii U and the nunchuck could be difficult.
Yeah.
Did it, when you build stuff, does the Wii U remote or the Wiimote, is it beneficial at all, or is it more cumbersome still?
Yeah, you can't point and say, you can't like grab a block and move it with the Wiimote. It would be nice if you could do kind of like I don't know, move stuff around in 3D space with that. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It's just a cumbersome control method that was fun 8 years ago and has kind of grown old. So I'm glad that the Pro Controller's in.
That's great. Well, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, true. If I mean that's all you have, it's fully functional. It's just not for me, it's not the ideal method.
Definitely. Pirate Steven, how have you noticed playing in the toy box with your children compared to just when you're in there by yourself? Is it a much more open, free environment where it's less concern about things making sense? Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, I have a Q controller story first.
Oh, great.
So I realized early on, I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and I noticed early on that I really wanted to play the game. So in order to do that, I had to buy a broken controller off of eBay, a PS3 controller, so that my 2-year-old can pretend like he's playing it while I'm really playing it in the background, because I wanted to play, and I knew I would never get to play the game unless I had a third controller that didn't really do anything. So that my 2-year-old plays with that broken controller.
Well,
Been there, done that.
yeah, I can't remember. It was one of you two that actually we discussed this, and it might have even been in the 25-hour marathon. But I've read this also, which is kind of funny. But it's a great way to maybe include your kids when either they're too young to have the motor skills to really play the game the way it's meant to be played, but it's also a good way for you to continue to play the game with your children and have them be involved. So
yeah, so the 2-year-old, when he does really play with the real controller, he just does 360s, and I usually will make him a car character or jump into a Power Disc car, and he'll just push the PlayStation 3 joystick and just do 360. So that's what he likes to do, and he likes the Monsters University characters. So he would, when I first got the game, he would carry Mike Wazowski and Sully all over the house, and I'd have to look for him and go, these are collectibles too, and I have to find him in his bed or under his bed somewhere, and had to put him in a higher place so that he couldn't get to him so easily. He's very gentle with him now. He knows the rules. So that's the little Cody story. That's my littlest one. And then Brandon, we just have a great time playing in the play sets in the toy box mode. I feel like we're in toy box more than the play sets, just 'cause, like you said, it's a good way to spend 20-30 minutes, and we'll just. It's a big Super Smash Brothers for us. We just go back and forth battling, and he really hates it when I throw him off the cliff. We were just talking about how the kids like to do it, but he hates doing it. And one of the things, since I've been doing the Dragon Gate Unlock for people, I've really built up my PlayStation friends on the PlayStation Network. So people will join our games randomly all the time. And that's how he really figures out all these new characters are released, because he'd be like, "What? They have Wreck-It Ralph? Or Woody's in the game? How did that happen?" And he has no problem when the third or fourth player that joins the game will throw him off the cliff. But if Dad does it, that's when he gets mad.
That's too funny.
But yeah, he'll throw anybody off a cliff. And he likes
It is really good that you can just go split screen and let the kids just do whatever they want. It
Yeah,
doesn't
they can do
restrict you
whatever
from
they
playing.
want. We learned that early with his other games he plays are the Lego games, and I think those are great for learning and figuring out puzzles, and yeah, he has a good time with those.
All right. Well, let's send it back over to Ben and Seth. I think it's about time. I hate to say that word, but it might be getting close to someone's bedtime.
Yeah, it's been a long time. Good night.
Wait, don't go yet.
I don't think
Wow.
he would not make the 25-hour marathon.
Well, I saw him yawning over there. I didn't mean for him to. He didn't have to go right then.
That's incredible that works. I might need you to talk to my kids every now and then. We'll have to do a hangout, and you can tell them it's bedtime. So there you go.
I must have the magic touch. Maybe this kid thing isn't so hard after all. What were you gonna say, Lloyd?
I'm gonna go put him into bed. All right. Thanks.
Ben, tell him thank you, and it was so great having him on the show, and it was a lot of fun, and he is just an awesome kid, and we all think he's awesome. So.
Well, thank you for inviting him onto the show.
Great, and we'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Yep.
I really was going to talk to him more before. I didn't mean he had to go right then.
He was waiting for his out. He's like, oh, finally. They said I could go.
I saw him yawn over there. Well, it's funny because I've played with Ben before, and sometimes we'll be playing, and he's like, oh, I finally put Seth to sleep or whatever, and then like I hear something in the background because I can't see obviously when we're playing Xbox 360, and he just kept coming out to see the game, and I remember one time when I first showed Ben the Sorcerer Mickey, he went, and it was like there on the East Coast, so it was like midnight his time, and Ben won Father of the Year award that night, and woke up Seth just so he could take a look at the Sorcerer Mickey, which I think was a mistake, because then the rest of the week it was all asking about Sorcerer Mickey and when he could get one. So, but well, all right, gentlemen. Well, while we wait for Ben to come back, now it's time for the show, and really the only non-kid-friendly part of the show is if there's any sort of Christmas talk or any tips and tricks on kind of that are a little more advanced that children may not understand. So it's not like, it's not the X-rated version of the show or anything like that. It's just
After hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
After dark.
Inside Infinity After Dark. No, it's just with Christmas coming up, there's been lots of conversation about Disney Infinity and Christmas, and I just want everyone to be freely able to talk. And you guys already spoke of some really great tips. There's going to be lots of new parents and lots of new kids that are not new kids, but kids that are new to Disney Infinity. And so now is our time to make sure that we inform everyone out there some of our favorite tricks. And I think you guys just hit two of the best ones out there. Is if your kids are too young, the great thing about Disney Infinity is a lot of the characters and stuff and environments are recognizable, and so it's a perfect game for you to still get your gaming on while also handing them a controller and involving them.
Sure.
I've got a question. Has anyone had any experience with the 3DS version of the game?
I've watched videos.
I haven't even watched videos. Like, is it? Because I think it's important to let people know that the 3DS version is completely different to every other version of the game. So if someone has purchased that for whatever reason, don't get disappointed, because you don't even use the figures, I believe. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah. No, it's if you own that one, take it back. It's essentially it's a board game. It's like if you've ever heard of Mario Party, that's essentially what this game is. Not really the full Disney Infinity experience. I think it does come with a one of the pads you put the characters on, but I don't know really what it would do. I guess load the characters into the cartridge so you could use them in the mini games. But yeah, it's kind of a poor product. I'm a little bit disappointed by it. I was hoping for something better.
Well, how does it compare, Lloyd? Have you played the Skylanders DS, 3DS versions?
I own all the DS version of Skylanders, and they're actually fun little titles. The first two Skylanders games on DS you could actually jump in them, which you couldn't in the console version. And so it was more of a platformer, collect coin type experience.
Yeah.
The Swap Force DS or 3DS game is actually, it's a lot of fun. It kind of they're like alternate stories set in the universe that the main game existed in. So they're actually a lot of fun. They're worthy of the name of the big console brother.
So it enhances the overall canon in a way.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, now is a perfect opportunity to also remind parents that the Wii U version, or not the Wii U, excuse me, the Wii version is also limited. Although it's more of and thanks Travis in the chat room for reminding us, the Wii version is more of a fuller version, more so than the 3DS. It still lacks what every other console version has in it. It doesn't have any local multiplayer, or local or online multiplayer for that matter, and obviously the graphical power just isn't as strong, so it loses something there. But then the gameplay is not quite as robust either. For example, in the Cars playsets, the buildings kind of you can press a button and they change, and in the Wii version that they're always kind of in this deployed state. So I haven't had a chance to play that, but I have talked to many parents who were kind of upset that they purchased the Wii version, and they had the option of getting one of the other versions, and they didn't do that. So hopefully, if you bought the Wii version for Christmas and you have another console option, you try for one of those other consoles.
No, I have heard that sometimes I've seen some of the forums that sometimes if you contact technical support and you tell them about the Wii version, that they might give you, like, if you have a 360 as well, they might actually give you a 360 version if you complain. And that's what I've actually heard.
And I think that's really good of them, because it's hard to really communicate that type of information. If you look at the back of the box, you're not really going to be able to figure that out. And a lot of parents that just have Disney Infinity on their wish list from their kids, they're not really going to know. Jason, you stop that. They're not really going to know the difference. And so it's really great that the support is kind of honoring that.
The interesting thing is I have friends who have a Wii, and they're playing Disney Infinity on the Wii, and actually it's made them want to upgrade to a new console. So I mean, just the fact that it's a good game and they want to have the full features of a game, that they're willing to go out and get another console that would be able to use it better, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would also suggest that, since we're talking about versions, if you have someone that's not or still thinking about maybe getting into Disney Infinity, I actually think a really valid option is just to download the free iPad app or the Windows 8 app and just buy the figures and play in the toy box, even though you won't be able to unlock the other bits. If you've got really young kids, I think they may actually find that a little bit more accustomed to what they're used to. I know my kids would probably feel a lot better on an iPad than they would with the controller, because they're used to touchscreen games now. So, and that's obviously a cheaper option. But you've still got the ability then, because you're buying the figures, to obviously use those figures in future versions, or if you decide to upgrade to the console version down the track.
Well, and it's also a lot less price of entry, right? If you're not, say you have a kid that gets bored with stuff often, and you don't want to make the full investment of $75 or slightly cheaper on sale for the starter kit. This allows you to dabble into it, and it's a free option. You get Mr. Incredible, but then it also gives you the ability to purchase a few figures and include them in the game, which is really neat too. And you are pretty limited with the amount of unlockables when you first start up the game. But the great thing about that iPad app is that you can download all of the Disney toy boxes as well, so it can give you a little more exposure to what is the unlocks are, and kind of gauge how your children react to that. So.
And the point is that the downloadable free versions are still better graphically than the Wii.
Is it? I know the Windows 8 version is. I honestly don't. I think the
Oh,
iPad
really? Yeah,
version.
I've been using the Windows 8, and it's like identical, if not higher resolution than the PS3 version.
Well, your Windows 8 is just much. It must be superior to iOS because the iOS version has lower res.
I didn't want to say anything.
Where's
Windows
that Mac
8.1.
version?
Seriously, here's hoping we do get a Mac version. They have been cagey when that question has been asked, but I think it behooves them to release it on as many platforms as possible. We even discussed it last week, and it's just, yeah, the more hands they can get Infinity, or yeah, you know what I'm trying to say, the better off they'll be.
I was genuinely surprised. I don't know if Microsoft paid a lot of money for that, but I would have thought, because don't Disney have a big deal with Apple as far as the movie distribution on iTunes as though, and obviously the iPad app came out first.
I think that has to do with market share more than anything.
Yeah.
And install base, but yeah, I would be surprised if the Atom version, so the Windows RT version, if it didn't have graphics similar to the iPad, simply because
That'd be
of
interesting.
GPU. But anyway, gentlemen, Pirate Steven came up with an awesome idea, and I'm curious if anyone else in the room has tried this method of incentivizing the addition of new characters to their children. It's great because you have, on the one hand, you have figures that are released frequently, and kids are going to want these new figures when they come out. But say if there's lesser achievements, or, and I don't mean it like that, but maybe it's not, whatever it is, maybe you don't want to give them a figure. You can also hand out these Power Disc packs. Have you guys done this or thought about doing this?
So
No?
in my case, yeah, we have a whole system about reward system for Seth, where it's kind of an elaborate system where you get pom-poms, you put them in a jar for how good you are, and the jar's got to get filled up, and then he gets a reward. So he doesn't get a reward every time he's good, but he has a goal, and we have a list of things that he can get, and the first things to go were figures and discs. He didn't get them every single time he got a reward, but that was an option, and sure enough, he picked those options right away, and now he's on to other rewards. But we do that.
That's just such a good idea, and I saw Lloyd shaking his head. I have a feeling he's like Jason and I, where we're more kids than. Well,
Yeah. I like this stuff. I buy the characters for myself. It's like, hey kids, look what I got you. I got this. Awesome. I'm actually being really strong. I just found these ones in store. They're so hard to find, especially Vanellope.
Really?
So this will be a gift, probably sitting under a tree somewhere.
So those listening audio, that Lloyd is holding up Vanellope and Mr. Ralph himself.
Yeah, they're really hard to find up here. I don't know. Canada has had some issues with Skylanders figures, had some issues with Disney Infinity characters. Other stuff comes out here first. Like it's kind of a real hit and miss thing. But all the Targets around, I've been looking for Vanellope ever since she's come out, and I just found her on Friday, and there was one left. It's the only one that I found, and I've hit every single Target multiple times a week since the figures were released. And Ralph I just found at Best Buy, and they didn't have any at all forever. And then all of a sudden I go in and they have like 70 of them sitting in a big pile, just like strewn about randomly. I'm like, okay, I'll grab one of those, I guess. But yeah, it's kind of odd to get figures here sometimes. But back to your rewards thing. I reward them with time. So if they have a good week, if my son gets good marks, he has a weekly spelling test in grade 2, which I find kind of weird that they're doing stuff. He has homework and tests already.
Wow.
They're starting him young. But if he does really good on his tests, then we play video games on the Saturday. If there's not so good marks, maybe we do other things like read and other fun educational things. Still fun, but not video gaming with controllers in the hands.
That's interesting. One thing I'm curious, and unfortunately none of us in the room are good marks for this because we already have Disney Infinity. We already have it open, and for those of you that have kids, they've already seen it. I'm curious for parents who are getting Disney Infinity for Christmas, if they're kind of getting them the starter kit and then maybe a few extra characters, or if maybe they're buying that Amazon bundle and getting them all, because Disney Infinity is really one of those products that is, as a parent, besides the cost, it's a really great thing because there's these constant releases to keep their children excited about this, and it gives them the opportunity to kind of spread out. Even, maybe they buy it at release, like Pirate Steven, he has them on hand, but just delaying that to keep them interested in Disney Infinity, because again, it's an investment, and I really am curious how parents that are getting it for Christmas are dealing with that. Gentlemen, the show is far from over, but I do have something else I want to discuss before we move on to that. Is there anything we haven't talked about that anyone wants to bring up as far as Disney Infinity and playing with their kids, or from their parents' perspective?
Well, I joined late, so I didn't get to join in on this earlier. I quizzed my kids yesterday just to get ready for the show about some things, and I wanted to record a video. Unfortunately, we didn't get time to do that because I was tied up this evening. But I asked my children what their favorite characters were and why, and also what their favorite levels in the game are. So my daughter, she loves Violet. Violet's her favorite. I said why. And she said, because I can go invisible and hide from my brother. And I said, that is a good superpower. I understand why you would want to do that. So,
does her head fall off all the time?
What's that?
Does her head fall off all the time?
No.
Oh, I've heard it. I mean, for our Violet, her head falls off all the time.
Really? I'm looking. I don't even see a seam. No, I know. Thankfully not. It hasn't been dropped too often, I guess. Maybe eventually that'll happen.
Yeah, and I've heard it's a problem.
Really?
It's especially initially. I haven't heard so much recently, so I don't know if they fixed it. But mine doesn't have a problem. But yeah, it's kind of a known issue.
Interesting. I'll watch out for that in case I see a little girl's head rolling around the floor. And I'll be like, "What's that?" Oh, Disney Infinity. That's right. I talked to my son Nick, and his favorite character is Crystal Buzz Lightyear. I said, why? And he's like, well, because you got it while you did your 25-hour marathon. And I was like, I did get it because of that. So he remembers that, and he loves the figure since then because he thought that was the coolest thing ever.
That's awesome.
I have, like, big daddy brownie points forever, I think, with my kids. They thought that was the coolest thing ever. So his favorite is Crystal Buzz Lightyear. And then I asked him what levels or playsets are their favorite. My daughter loves the Toy Story set, but she also likes this battle arena that I created for the kids that just has spawning enemies, all the fun vehicles they like. It has a racetrack. It has basically a whole bunch of separate areas that they love to play in, and that's her favorite thing in Disney Infinity, which is kind of cool since I made that for them. And my son's favorite thing in Disney Infinity, favorite level, is at, I don't know, I started at about 8 o'clock that night when we were doing our 25-hour marathon. I started creating a level, and I made like kind of a pixel art, Space Invader, and some other stuff. I was just trying to pass time, and then I did a lot with it when it was like 4 a.m. and I was half delirious. And that's his favorite thing because it has traps, it has a maze, underground maze. So I found that really cool and interesting because my kids don't really make a lot of levels or modify a lot of levels, and I'm not really sure why. They like to drop a couple blocks and then say, hey Dad, let's make something cool, and then I kind of take over control. So I think in just with talking to my kids, I think probably this weekend, if we have some time, I'm gonna basically let them go as crazy as they want and teach them the ins and outs of creating levels, because I think their fun levels are things that I built, which is cool as a dad, but I'd like to see the type of things that they want to make for themselves to have fun with. So yeah. I think I haven't spent enough time doing that, so that'll be my my goal moving forward with Disney Infinity, I think.
Well, and you bring it up a good point. So Ben and his son, they were saying that they create new toy boxes every time they kind of jump in. And a toy box, I have multiple toy boxes that I've started and plan to just kind of grow on and expand over time. But initially, I just kind of would create one in one session and be like, okay, I'm done with this one, and never return to it again. So I think those are very different ways of playing it, where it's constantly a brand new, fresh slate. But there's no reason that you can't build a toy box that may be a little more complicated and might be a little more strenuous while you're doing it, not as relaxing, that you can just stop and pick up another day and then just kind of go into another empty toy box and just fiddle around a little bit. So that's interesting. Pirate Steven, is there any last thing you want to discuss before we move on?
Yes.
All right.
For any
determined.
Because I've been thinking this whole time. There's for any parent that's getting their Disney Infinity for their kids, I just want them to know ahead of time that there's a board in Monsters University called Homework Hero, and their kids are going to get frustrated to try to play that bike mission. Just they need to have patience, and it's going to take a long time to beat that one, but eventually it'll happen.
Now, may I interrupt you real quick there?
Sure.
So I got to ask, did you let them complete that, or did you help them out once you saw them getting frustrated?
I still haven't beat it.
Oh, okay.
It's at that point where I just said, you know what, there's other boards. There's Pirates and there's Incredibles, or we could go and play in the playset. I just kind of gave up on Monsters University when we got to that board, but eventually we'll go back and pick it up. The second advice or point is that I see a lot of parents get frustrated when they don't think they know everything about Disney Infinity, or what release dates, or even when they're in a store, they look so confused when they see all these figures and Power Disc and whatnot. The knowledge is out there. With websites like DisneyInfinityFans.com and Vinylmation Kingdom, the resources are at your fingertips. You could pretty much learn everything you wanted to know about the game by going to the internet and on these websites. Join the communities and join on Facebook and get the knowledge, and you won't be looking so confused when I'm at Toys R Us, feeling the Power Disc or looking at the UPC codes. Other people will know what you're talking about. I think it's fun going to Toys R Us and people are picking up the gold Power Disc packs, and I'm able to tell them exactly what's in the packs as they're looking for it. You looking for Peter Pan's ship? Here it is. It's in this one. How do you know? Magic. But yeah, the knowledge is out there, so please check out the websites.
Well, and we've discussed it lots of times on the show, is that communication isn't always the best at these retailers, and so reaching out and looking up some of those resources will definitely alleviate some of that frustration. And like Pirate Steven said, it's there. You just kind of have to search it out. That being said, don't be too hard on yourself if at first, especially just getting into Infinity, just having your mind swimming, because there is so much. And at this point, we're a little less than 6 months into the product, and myself, someone who does a weekly podcast, I still get confused. And so if I can't keep everything straight, then someone who, as a parent who only checks these things out on occasion, don't worry about it's all there, and you have plenty of time to get everything you want and what your kids want. And like Pirate Steve said, check out some of those resources. Plus, both of those places have great communities of not only friendly people, but it's a great way of finding some of those discs that you either can't find in stores, or it's just wasting too much money in stores. There's good trading communities, so don't feel like you have to buy the entire stock of these blind packs when you're looking for a particular disc and stuff like that. Great tips, Pirate Steve. Ben, did you have any last-minute things? I don't know if you were sitting down. We're not ending the show yet. We're just kind of moving on. And before we do that, I just wanted to hear if you had any tips for people out there.
Oh, good. Any good tips?
From a parent's perspective? I mean, you already talked about a few. You talked about how you use it as an incentive, and
Well, I'm thinking about how I'm thinking about the album of discs that I've been doing the one with the Toys R Us exclusives, and I guess I wonder if I go through this again with Disney Infinity 2 if I'm going to be going for the whole exclusives again. Because now we have Series 2 out and a lot of those same discs. I don't know if it's about half of those discs that were exclusive are now out for Series 2. Is that correct? Something like that.
so there's an album out that includes all of them, but then Series 2 disc, I think they've been released now.
Yeah, Series 2. So I guess what I'm saying is, I went through week by week. I was going to Toys R Us getting these exclusive discs, which are now eventually they will be available in Series 2 discs and Series 3 discs. So I think kind of the same theme of you guys saying. I wouldn't worry about it sometimes as much. I mean, I have one more disc, the Merlin disc, and then the album is completed. But I sometimes wonder if I'll probably still want to complete discs, but I won't be as stressed out about trying to go every single week to Toys R Us to find these discs.
So for the diehard collectors out there, I'm looking at you, Lloyd. The exclusives are different than the Series 2 disc. They function the same way, and the art is similar, but they are not the lenticular orange bordered ones unless they are rare in Series 2. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, it's not going to affect gameplay at all, but for those that want every single disc no matter what, that's something to keep in mind. So I can't imagine that's too many kids out there. It's probably more those collecting parents. So Jason, do you have anything with that you want to say, or shall we move things along here?
No, I think we can move along.
All right. So everyone's going to have an opportunity to talk about this, and for those that are in the chat room, and if you're not in the chat room and you want to be, make sure you check out InsideDisneyInfinity.com/live, and you can give your thoughts on this next part. So a friend of the show, Chad Liddell, he came and spoke with us during our 25-hour marathon. We still have his interview to actually run in a couple weeks. I reached out to him as a developer of the game. I had some discussion with him and others that work at Avalanche, and I know that one thing they really enjoy is playing Disney Infinity with their kids. And he's going to have kind of a unique perspective on the game that maybe we would not have simply because we don't have the access or we don't work on it. So I sent him a little note asking if he could explain to us how he likes to play Disney Infinity with his family. And he's an awesome guy, so he gave me lots of information. So I'm just going to kind of give everyone the cliff notes, and we'll break it up into sections because I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this. And one thing that really struck me when I was reading his email is that he uses Disney Infinity as a learning tool, especially in the toy box, but not solely in the toy box. The playset allows for this opportunity as well. And this is great because I've also read articles where even some professors out there are using Disney Infinity as a teaching tool. So he was saying when he plays Disney Infinity, he has a few goals, specific things that he wants to use Disney Infinity for. And those three things are he wants his kids to learn problem-solving skills, teamwork, and leadership. And he says Disney Infinity is a perfect playground to kind of tap into every single one of those. So let's talk about the first one he mentioned. Sorry, I keep losing my spot here. So well, actually, let's start leadership first. So whenever he plays Disney Infinity with his kids, he lets them lead. So what that means is he lets them determine what they do in the game, and that can be everything from playing in a playset or creating a toy box. No matter what it is, he kind of lets them be the ones to lead. And he says he tries to be as hands-off as he can while he's doing this to allow them to kind of develop their own solutions to the problem. He says if he needs to step in, he doesn't want his kids to get frustrated. He will, but as much as he can, he tries to be hands-off and let them figure it out. But then if he does need to step in, he approaches it as a we. He's like, how can we solve this, or what can we do to figure this out together? So what do you guys think about that? Do you think it's a good teaching tool, and especially tapping into those kind of 3 areas? Pirate Steven, you are raising your hand.
Yeah, I definitely let my son Brandon take the lead on the games. Mostly because, if I'm playing a game, I'm probably going to be playing it as tough as I can to try to beat the game as quickly as possible. But I let him lead when we play, because the game is just incredibly fun. There's no rush to try to beat it or anything. I let him take the lead and figure things out himself, because like Chad says, it's a learning tool, and he figures it out, and I get really impressed by some of the things he does, and it also allows me to take a break from the game if I want to do chores while he plays. He can play it by himself. If I do everything for him, he's not going to learn anything.
Yeah. Lloyd, I see you shaking your head. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Basically, when we have our game days, I ask the kids what they want to play. Sometimes they want to watch me play through a game that they like that is too tough for them. They want to check out some cool stuff, so we'll do that. But usually they want to play Disney Infinity Toy Box, or they want to play Skylanders. I don't want to say the S word, but they choose kind of the way to go. So then we start up the game, and then it's kind of their call what we do. They're going through and they're replaying through some of the playset stuff that we had beat. I got 30 stars in all of the playsets. I finished that up during the 25-hour marathon, but now I'm begrudgingly starting over on some of them and just letting them go and do whatever they want. It's kind of funny, like on the weekends when they are in the zone, like they'll spend hours just playing Toy Box, just chasing each other, shooting enemies, finding new vehicles, flying to weird places, flying around with the bird suit. Like they just make their own fun, which is really great. Which is, I guess, one of the reasons why I want to get them into sort of the creativity aspect of it, more than just laying down a couple blocks and then saying, "Hey, Dad, come and make this cool thing for me." So I think that's going to be my goal, because we haven't really been doing a lot of that. So that'll be something for the future, I guess.
Well, and that's actually a perfect segue to this next section. Chad said he really likes to use Creativitoys. He says a lot of that probably has to do with his background. But what he likes to do is encourage the use of Creativitoys, and there's so many out there. He doesn't necessarily filter through, but he generally poses it as a question. It's like, what do you want to do? And the example he gave is that let's make a pit filled with Zergbots and try and throw each other in. So then he kind of lets his kids figure out how to do that. Usually, he says, with enemy spawners and creating a pit, and then just letting them have at it. He says he doesn't like to necessarily control that activity and that gameplay, but he says inevitably that kind of basic use of Creativitoys does tend to get old after a while, and he starts to notice this. So then he starts to encourage more advanced play with these Creativitoys, and the example he uses, he's like, how could we use the team assigner to make this better? And then that would lead to maybe team play within these toy boxes. And I think this is really, really interesting. And Pirate, I will never forget, we were talking, and I think you were on one of our shows long ago, and we were discussing these Creativitoys and how kind of complicated they are. And honestly, as an adult, it takes me forever sometimes to figure out what they are. And I think it was you that said, don't underestimate the how intelligent children can be and how they can pick up on these Creativitoys. And I think this is great, because honestly, as a parent, I would feel like these would be too advanced for my children to use. But and Ben, I see you raising your hand.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. I think I underestimated my own son. He's 6 years old. I just didn't think they'd be too advanced for him. But I've started seeing him play with them, and I think recently it was just scoring a goal. I mean, he set something up so that you could keep score of when the soccer ball goes in the net, and he would say he can't read yet, so he'll string something along and say, "What does this say?" And I say, "Well, this says connect one," or whatever it says, or this does that. But I was actually amazed that on his own he realized that these things could do things and they could connect and be the creative ways, and I was very impressed by that. And I also wanted to add that my son isn't really into sports. He's not into a lot of these other things, but this is a great way to celebrate his creativity, to be able to champion him and say, "Hey, you're doing an amazing job," and my way of like rooting for him and stuff. So I mean, I really enjoy doing that with him in the game.
That's amazing, because there are so many assets in the toy box that really kind of helps with that. You have the cheering sections that you could hook up to a Creativa toy, and after an action is accomplished, then it cheers for him. And then you could also connect it to fireworks. And I would imagine for him that accomplishment alone of seeing the score go up, but then enhancing that by having these fireworks in this cheering section would just make it awesome.
Pretty cool.
That's really cool. I like that. I like that. Chad continues that, sometimes, yes, these Creativa toys are kind of advanced, and so sometimes his children does need help kind of moving that process forward. And so what he does in those situations is he kind of outlines the goal, and then he kind of explains what he is doing or what he needs to do with Creativa toys to accomplish that goal. And then as a group, to really reinforce that cooperation, he will have him and his kids split the duties of connecting the Creativa toys together. And I thought that was a brilliant way of adding cooperation to the toy box, where with such a free and open environment that isn't always present. It kind of, well, we've even discussed it oftentimes turns into an adversarial event. Having all of the kids, especially, let's be honest, sometimes Creativa toys and connecting them can be a little bit monotonous and trying. So sharing those duties, it's hard work, and it helps to have that payoff at the end, and everyone's included. Jason, what do you think about that? Do you think it's he kind of takes over the reins if he needs to, but he still is very aware of including his kids in the process?
Yeah, I think I hope it continues like that. I hope as the platform begins to develop, I like the idea of focusing more on the educational stuff, particularly for that younger age, when they're in that age where learning through play is arguably more valuable than just head knowledge, so to speak. And I would hope that it'd be really cool if down the track we could have it so that when eventually we can play everybody else's toy box, if maybe they could have some form of a category system where we as parents could download toy boxes that has been specifically set up for educational purposes. Something as simple as like basic maths type thing, having like 3 labeled boxes or whatever and solving simple math problems using their favorite Disney characters would be sensational. But as it is at the moment, I guess there's nothing stopping us as parents setting up that sort of stuff for our own kids, and ultimately, as I said, using the Creativa toys is still a learning experience in itself. It's really, really cool in that way.
Yeah, I really like that idea of having more resources for teaching opportunities, and having downloadable examples would be perfect, because we've discussed that as parents it's not always easy to be creative, and if we're struggling with understanding how these Creativa toys are working, how can we necessarily instruct and help our children? But it would be interesting to see that kind of fleshed out a little bit more and expanded on a little bit.
Plus, I'm a fairly young dad at 32. I know I've got a lot of friends who have kids my age, but they're a lot older and would never touch a video game, so they got no hope of being able to sort of even help their kids, sit down and play to sort of get the value out of the game like that.
Well, I have a question for the entire group here. Have you guys had trouble with the Creativitoys? For me personally, half the time, or not half the time, but sometimes I can figure it out, sometimes I can't, and for those times I can't, I go and look online for an explanation of these Creativitoys. There's a lot of great information out there. Even some of the devs have posted some stuff. But have you guys had trouble with some of these Creativitoys, and do you think that maybe some more resources should be available, even if it's just like a downloadable PDF that says this Creativitoy does this, because sometimes the title of the toy isn't always descriptive enough. I'm going to throw it to Lloyd first. If sorry, I'm not trying to
unmuting my mic, so yeah, no, I haven't run into any problems that were just not me being kind of a little dense with how they actually worked. I have to admit to watching those YouTube videos over and over and over again to kind of figure out sort of what I was doing wrong, hooking up like the pause and replay and all of those, the generator toys and stuff like that. That's about the only problems that I had. Kids love watching me connect things. They haven't really connected much themselves, other than I basically had my son set up a fireworks show, basically teaching him how to set up the different firework cannons, and then have either a button or a zone that they could walk through. Okay. But yeah, we haven't really run into too many problems, which is, I guess, a fortunate thing.
That's a good thing. That's a Pirate Steve. What about you? Have you had trouble, or you and your kids figured it out pretty easily?
We haven't really dived in too deep with the Creativitoys, so I can't answer that question.
Okay.
But I was gonna say another teaching tool is teamwork, because I set my son up and my nephew came over, and I just watched them two figure out, because we had a third person jump into our toy box and turned our toy box into Frozen using the terrain disc, and they figured out how they could change all the trees to different types of trees and so on, and they said, oh well, you know what, if we can do this, I want to build a Mario world. So they started changing all the different things in the toy box into Mario, and I was impressed that they were figuring this out by themselves. I was just doing dishes watching them do this, and I was impressed. It was good teamwork.
So cool. It sounds like they've been taught well, going back to their old school video game roots of Mario. I like that. Yeah. Chad continues on with this discussion. Again, he wants it to constantly be reinforcing. So if it's this event where he kind of has to take over with these Creativitoys, he says the great thing about it is after it's done, he has shown his kids the process of creating this, and so they can now begin to incorporate that into their own scenarios, and it gives them kind of a general roadmap or way of thinking to turn their ideas into reality using logic. And that's the great thing about it, right? I mean, you're actually teaching kids logic and basic programming, and that's pretty cool. He continues to say that he intentionally doesn't like to influence the way his children play. He says, and Jason, this is to reinforce exactly what you spoke on a minute ago. He said imaginative play is something that they don't get exposed to nearly enough, and it's the foundation for learning and how to be creative and innovate. And the best ways to teach that is just to let them experiment and learn on their own. So in those situations, his role is to answer questions, and those questions usually, or he'll answer questions with a question, and then those questions usually lead to them discovering the answers on their own. Sometimes he simply gives a suggestion of how big of a tower can you guys make, and but he said most of the time it's just kind of hands off. The last bit here, I want to, well, actually, two more things. One was he spoke about how the leadership aspect, and so the game is just built around these problem-solving scenarios, whether it be this kind of open-ended toy box or the problem-solving of the toys or the play sets themselves. he says he lets his children go up to the quest givers and initiate those quests. And I mean, we've all played the playsets, right? So we've sometimes seen how ambiguous these requests are from the quest givers. And so that is a great opportunity for your kids to figure that out. And if they're having trouble with it, a good solution is, okay, well, remember this quest when we did this. How did we figure and solve that problem there? And it could be an opportunity for that. Lastly, and this is kind of interesting because I thought he was going to say what we talked about with handing over a non-functioning controller to our children, but he went a different direction with it. So he says his youngest isn't really at the age yet to play the game autonomously. So his approach to this problem, if you consider it a problem, is he still gives his son, his youngest child, an active controller, so an actual functioning controller. But because of the way the game is set up, even in the play sets, you don't have to be around each other, right? I mean, they could just be picking up aliens and throwing them off the planet's surface while you go and continue to do your complete your quest. And I just found that as a great suggestion for you to continue to get the enjoyment out of the playset the way you want to, getting through this story. And Ben, you're raising your hand. Do you agree with Chad on this?
Oh yeah, well, what I wanted to say was I also have a 1-year-old daughter, and I think she gets a little jealous when we're playing Disney Infinity, Seth and me, and so I have another controller that does not. I purposely don't have batteries in it, and I have her. She's actually there with us playing. She has the controller in her hands, and she feels like she's participating in a way. So it's a way, and what I do love about Disney Infinity is it doesn't feel like it's just focused on boys as well. It's I think girls definitely like it. I mean, they definitely have the princess themes coming up now too, but it's a way to. I think it's a great way to. I don't know if that's what Chad was saying though. That in a way that you're giving a control, and even if you can't. You can't play, you at least feel like you're participating.
Yeah.
Was I mishearing that, or?
Well, so playing split screen, but just because you're playing split screen in a playset doesn't necessarily mean you both have to be going for the objective.
And it's been a while since I've played it, but I think because I did that a bit with my daughter, and I think when you achieve something, you know how it does the fireworks or stars or whatever, it does that to the second screen as well, regardless if they did it or not. So it makes them, even when you're achieving the missions, it makes them feel like they've done something and they can have a bit of a celebration with you. My daughter would just, erupt in laughter or whatever, to think, oh, I did it. And I'm like, yep, you did it.
On the reverse, I've actually had that happen to me where I'm thinking I'm trying to win the game, and all of a sudden I get the fireworks, and my son has actually done it. So. Good for him.
That's awesome. I'm really embarrassed. I'm trying to look up the comment because he is a listener of ours, but one of the most interesting ideas I've ever seen playing in a playset came from one of our listeners. Again, I'm going to try to find it. But he had a daughter or a son who was just simply too young to play the game, and he used it as the toy box as a teaching tool. And so what he would do is he would go through the toy box and he would hide figures, animals in this case. And so you could do it with Disney characters, or you could even do it with some of the animals in the game. And so he would kind of hide these out in the toy box world, and then he would just kind of walk through the toy box world and say, okay, we're looking for the giraffe, and then they would just go through, and it kind of helps with learning animals and what they look like, but then also a great way where they didn't necessarily have to have the controller to participate. They would just point at the screen, and that would be a way that they could participate. So I don't know, I just thought that's a really good idea, and it's a very non-traditional way of playing the game, So, gentlemen, that's how Chad likes to play with Disney Infinity with his children, and I think those are some awesome ideas. And I don't know when I will be playing Disney Infinity with children. It's going to be 2, 3, or 15. But these are great ideas that I can't wait to use. What do you guys think?
No, it's great. I'm definitely going to use some of those ideas when I start getting my kids into the building of levels, not just the playing the levels that I've built for them. So, thanks.
I think it's going to be 2. Was that the question? How many years?
No, that's not the question. And ironically enough, that seems to be a favorite topic of conversation on this podcast. And I think, yeah, you guys are just trying to be mean to me.
I just want to reiterate again that I think it's really cool that we've got a game that does grow with the kids. Like, it's not just, what's the word? You know, it just doesn't have a one gimmick to it. It's something that can be expanded and with a bit of creativity grow up with them, and they'll be able to go back and experience it in a new light over and over again. And I for one hope they continue to expand on that idea. I'd actually really like, I had an idea this morning for my youngest, who's only 2. It'd be really cool, you know, that iPad app, what is it, the Tomcat or the Talking Giraffe or whatever? It'd be really cool. It would be really cool if there was a Disney Infinity app that was like that. You know, you could redeem the codes on the characters you've purchased, and the characters would just interact with your young kids, if you know what I mean. Just a little bit more of a, you know, whatever, just touch the button type, preschool type app. That'd be really cool, so that, you know, we can start right from there, effectively from when they're born and can first touch an iPad, which is what, like 9 months, a year these days. And play right through till they're my age at 32.
Yeah,
One game.
They do have the one app where you can make little videos and stuff of yourself, and we had many fun times in my house doing things like there's a one of the toys is a camera. So whichever character you choose will say, okay, say cheese, and my kids will be kind of looking confused and they'll say cheese, and then the screen flashes and they're like, what's that? And the next thing you know, the picture comes out and it's their face, and they're like, oh my god, it's my face! And we had so much fun with that, and it was just like this simple, stupid little thing.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah, between that and basically recording my son doing stupid things with like Jack Sparrow, like having a sword fight with him, and that was great. Obviously, it skews a little bit older than the 9-month-old thing, but maybe they can get some.
And do they expand with the figures though? Like, do you get extra content based on what figures you own, or is it just a standard set of people?
Yeah, I think you actually use the coins that you unlock playing the game to buy the other stuff. So not quite what I would want it.
And it's mostly, I think it's actually mostly a freemium model. You cannot unlock certain things with the coins. I think that's actions or something, and characters you might have to pay extra, or it might be vice versa. So.
Because my daughter loves, like, my 2-year-old just points out Jack and loves holding on to Jack and loves holding on to the different figures, and she also want to play with Woody or whatever, but it's just I can't facilitate her want effectively, because it's like, well, you're far too young to play the game. It'd just be nice to be able to go, oh yeah, cool, I'll bring up Jack on the tablet or whatever. But
well, it will be interesting if Infinity kind of expands a little bit, and I'm gonna give it to Pirate Steve because it's his favorite quote ever. With Disney Infinity, you never know, because
the possibilities are infinite. Great suggestion.
Yes, great suggestion.
Can I just comment on that? You know, Disney is very smart to put out figures around times of the movies and stuff. Seth and I went and saw Frozen, and now he wants Frozen characters for Christmas and stuff. So their marketing is working.
Yeah. Yes, and I'll be very interested if round 2 of Disney Infinity, Disney Infinity 2, if that's planned a little bit better. I think they're going to have a little bit more flexibility on what is a playset and what is a toy box figure. And so hopefully for new properties that we might see, maybe we'll be getting more playsets than simply toy box only characters. So, and I'm really proud of myself, guys. Minnesota Jason, that's who it was. And I didn't even look it up. I just happened to remember, which is mind-boggling because I have a memory of a small animal. So, gentlemen, this was great, and I hope that we helped some parents out there. I don't know. I learned quite a bit, and it was a lot of fun having Seth on the show. Pirate Steve, do you have any last bits of information from either a player or a parent that you would like to discuss?
As a parent, you know, you don't have to buy everything right at once. You can. I would highly suggest doing little phases, and you don't need and wait for sales, because there are sales all the time on these Disney Infinity things. Some of the things that I bought when it first came out, I could have got 50% off less. So just pace yourself and enjoy it. And it's a great ride to play with your kids. It's good bonding time. I feel like me and my son have got. I mean, that's one of his favorite things to do. I remember picking him up from school one day, and he had a piece of paper, and it said, "What I love to do is play video games with my daddy." So it's moments like that you treasure.
Ow.
Did that just melt your heart? Because that kind of melted mine, and not even my son.
Ow.
Lloyd, what about you? Do you have anything you want to just tell folks out there?
No, I think Pirate Steve hit it. My one suggestion is to go slow, like because I'm a serial collector and have a little thing that's broken in my brain where I have to have everything as fast as humanly possible. For my friends and family members that are buying Disney Infinity, I just told them to go slow. Like, use the different play sets as presents for birthdays, for Christmas, for graduation presents. Like, however you reward your kids for what they do, use that way instead of just going out and just buying them all because they're there and available. Because that'll give you a heck of a lot more joy over the period of a year, instead of just having all the fun in one weekend and then your kids are kind of tired of it, if you understand what I mean. So that's about my only thing. Go slow.
Well, and it gives you an opportunity, like both of you said, to take advantage of some of those sales. Because
totally.
That's one thing I've noticed is over the course, and we didn't really know this first go around how these items were going to go on sale. An example of this was last weekend I picked up Crystal Lone Ranger, and I just didn't have time to play with them, so I kept them in the packaging. So I went back to pick up my Tron disc this last Sunday, and they had a two-figure sale, so I picked up Crystal Jack Sparrow and Crystal Lone Ranger, and I'm going to return the other one and save myself a few bucks. So one thing we're noticing is that Disney Infinity are constantly having sales, whether it be with figures or play sets or even the starter packs. I mean, right now, this week at, I think, Walmart and Kmart, one of the two, the starter kit is on sale, and it's not as cheap as it was on Black Friday, but it's just great to see that these things are always on sale. So don't buy it all at once is what we're saying.
And one other thing, I just wanted to concur that the marketing works really well from Disney. We haven't seen Frozen yet, but when I first asked my daughter who her favorite character on Disney Infinity was, she's like, one of the Frozen girls. You haven't seen the movie or played with the toys because we haven't bought that set yet. She's like, oh, I guess Violet then. So yeah, Disney's marketing works really well, which is kind of scary. I wish you could tap into some of that sometimes.
Absolutely, for your kids.
Or for my own rule the world ambitions, but
yes,
for the kids, of course.
Ben, what about you?
Can I say that if you have to buy everything, I just got something in the mail today, from Germany.
Oh, what do you have there? Look at that! And so for the guys in the show, they don't know this, but so this is a special surprise for Christmas?
This is a special surprise for Seth. I think I'm actually going to give it to my sister who loves Mickey and let her give it to him as a Christmas present. But the great thing was that I got it from Amazon Germany, Amazon DE, whatever it is, but it was only $18. I mean, so it was like $5 shipping. I mean, I can spend a little extra for Mickey.
Absolutely, yeah. That's a steal. I mean, to get it early and as a Christmas present, because it's not releasing here until after the first of the new year. So that's really awesome, and he's gonna love that. I was telling the guys, I think you were gone, but I was telling them that you won Dad of the Year award when you woke Seth up one night when we were playing to show him Sorcerer Mickey, and then that was a mistake because for the rest of the week he just hounded you about Sorcerer Mickey. So.
Yes, he was constantly saying, "How did he get it?" And I was like, "Well, he paid a lot of money for it." And I was like, "Well, why don't you do the same thing?" And I was like, "I'm not gonna buy him." But yes, that's all he ever talked about was, "How can I get Mickey?"
That's funny. Well. Ben, thank you, my friend. It was great having Seth on. We hope he enjoyed coming on the show with us, and it was great hearing what his thoughts were about Infinity.
It was fun. Thanks for having us.
And Lloyd, thank you for asking those. I forgot to mention. Thanks for asking those follow-up questions to your kids about their favorite aspects of Infinity.
Yeah, no problem. I just sorry I couldn't get the video recorded. Just ran out of time, but no
worries. Hey, you showed up.
They want a podcast with me at some point, so I'm sure they'll be on some show of some form in some formats on some topic, and we'll get some Disney Infinity love in there whenever we do that.
I think what we should do is we should just set up a kids only show and have all of us set it up, and then just leave the room and let them talk, and then come back an hour later and see what get.
All the equipment's on fire.
Yeah. Jason, who looks like you have someone, a special friend there too. You are muted, so I'm trying to unmute you. All I see is a pair of eyes.
Yeah, Kira Cat. Yeah. Kira.
Hi there. How are you doing today?
She can't hear you. Hang on a second. I'll have to put the headphones on.
That's okay. Well. Hi, Kira, is it? Can you hear me? We're gonna assume she can hear, and she's just
maybe
shy.
I'll relay the questions. You give me a question, and I'll give a question to her.
I would just ask if she could hear us. So.
Can you hear her?
Yes.
Could you hear her? Yes. With the limited amount of time you play Disney Infinity, what's your favorite thing about Disney Infinity?
Pirates.
You like pirates.
You like pirates, huh? What does she like about pirates?
What do you like about pirates? Anything?
Playing it.
You just like playing
Just
it?
like playing it?
No, well, we'll play it some more in the coming weeks.
Well, tell her we're lucky we have a pirate on the show.
I know, she's been pointing out pirates, Steve, haven't you?
Hello there. Ahoy. That's all I say.
Alright, well, thank you for your input, Kira. we're about the end of the show. You could say goodbye now.
Yeah. Bye, Kira. You're so pretty.
Goodbye.
Oh, she can't hear. I forget.
No. Just wave. Wave to the
Bye-bye.
screen. Good girl.
All right. Well, Jason and crew. Oh, and I want to send a very special thank you to Chad for telling us how he likes to play Disney Infinity with his children, because that was awesome, and it was lots of great tips in there, and I really like how he positioned the gameplay with that. So thank you, Chad. If you are out there and you want to give us your ideas for Disney Infinity, or if you have a question for anyone on the show, it doesn't have to just be myself or Jason. You can send your questions to info@InsideDisneyInfinity.com. You can also look for a few of us via Twitter at our Twitter names down below on the screen. And make sure you subscribe to us on iTunes or Stitcher Radio if you are using Android or Windows Phone. That is, the show is on there. For all of your up-to-the-minute Disney Infinity related news, make sure you check out VinylmationKingdom.com or InsideDisneyInfinityFans.com. Infinity Fans is a forum. Lots of great information. Pirate and myself are members of that, and Pirate has kind of become the ambassador for the PS3 Dragon Gate unlock. Vinylmation Kingdom is a great group, not only Vinylmation information, but Disney Infinity info as well, and they have a face group and always chatting it up there. So make sure you check out both those sites. Since you're here listening to a Disney Infinity podcast, we are not expecting you to only be a Disney and Infinity fan. We also think that you should be a video game fan, and you should check out Lloyd's BGPodcast.com. It's a podcasting network that Lloyd hosts. Isn't that right, Lloyd?
That is correct. So if you like Nintendo, you like mobile gaming or just general video game stuff, we have shows for you. VGPodcasts.com.
It's great stuff there. Make sure you check out that stuff. Ben, Pirate, and Lloyd, thank you guys so much for joining us, and we hope that all the parents out there really enjoyed listening to the show and got some good info before the holiday season.
Thank you, Will.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It was a lot of fun.
Jason, you, myself, and a few others, Lloyd and Pirate and Steve C, are going to have a special holiday episode next week, so everyone make sure you stay tuned for that. It's either going to be next Sunday or Monday. Depending on when we can track everyone down. It's going to be an awesome, fun, holiday-themed Christmas episode, and we have a very Christmassy surprise waiting for all of you. So make sure you check that out. Everyone, thank you so much for listening and just being a part of the show, and we can't wait until next week. We hope you can't either. So until then, we hope you have a very infinite week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right, we are out, gentlemen. Pirate, I feel like you were falling asleep over there, buddy. I know it's late for you and Ben, but Ben is awfully chipper compared to you.
Well, I'm on hour 7 of this conference call.
Are you seriously still on the conference call?
Yeah.
You need more grog.
Hopefully it'll be a couple more hours.
Oh my gosh. What were you starting to say, Lloyd?
I said I think he needs more grog.
Or some rum or something.
Yeah, rum would be good.
Pirate, we talked about last week, I think Lloyd and Jason, I don't remember. The weeks just kind of mixed together. But have you played Assassin's Creed because you're a Pirate fan?
I have not yet. It looks really cool, though.
Yes.
Check it out. I'm not even necessarily much of an Assassin's Creed fan, but that is an awesome game. So
have you tried the app it goes with it?
Yes.
Oh, so good.
It's awesome. Oh yeah, Jason, you have it too. It's amazing. This is the first time really that I've had a game using a second screen app that really enhances the gameplay.
Yeah, totally.
That's the mapping app you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
That works.
Yeah, and the one that allows you to send your fleet out on missions when you're not even playing the game.
Yeah, that's
pretty sweet.
Yeah. So
Jason, good job. You wore the hat the whole time.
Yeah, no, it's killer hot.
I'm surprised you didn't have
on
to.
my head. Yeah, dedication.
Kira's blocking your head for you.
Why don't you go play Disney Infinity? Huh?
Have times have changed. All it took was one episode, and Jason's like, "Have at it."
Yep.
Try to creativity ways.
Yeah. Ben, are you excited to play with that Sorcerer Mickey figure? I bet you're just as excited as Seth is.
I'm more excited about the Toy Story playset. I think because that's the last playset to play, so I can't wait for that. I'm very excited.
It's definitely a podcast favorite. I think you're really going to enjoy that. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know. So are we're still on, or?
Yeah, this is kind of the after show.
Oh yeah.
In case anything funny happens. This is normally when we make fun of Steve C, but since he's not here, we're going to be nice to everyone.
I noticed on the audio podcast, at least I think, was it last week, you went an hour of silence.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah, it was 100 megabytes or whatever. I downloaded it, wow, this is over a 2-hour episode here. And
I fixed it almost instantly, but if your podcast aggregator picked it up, then unfortunately it didn't refresh. And so anyone who downloaded the podcast 5 minutes after it went live, then it was fixed. And I also figured out my problem, so it should not happen in the future. So my apologies for that to you and everyone else. What's that?
Was that a GarageBand issue?
It sure was.
Yeah.
This new GarageBand, man, I'm still, there's certain aspects of it I'm trying to figure out, but.
Yep.
Oh well.
And I thought I heard they had taken some podcast features away from the new GarageBand. Is that right? Or I thought I had heard that.
They took away the template. There used to be a button that says create a song, create a podcast. That's gone, but you can still do all the stuff that because a podcast is just an audio file.
Yeah.
You can still. I don't know if you can make enhanced podcasts anymore with the new version. I haven't tried that.
I haven't either. That's a good question. I know you can still do movie scores or scores in them, but I know that's also different than the. You know what? You can, because I still get the warning when I put my podcast info in there that this will not be an enhanced podcast. So
No, okay.
Hey, is anybody's kids obsessed with Angry Birds Star Wars or that new Angry Birds Go?
Yes.
Oh,
Star
man.
Wars. Star Wars.
I've seen like a picture of Go. What exactly is that?
It's a kart racing game featuring the Angry Birds and the Piggies. It's pretty fun.
And
I played it.
Rodeo's kind of jumped the shark with this one because they have it's free and the freemium paywall is just egregious.